Hi everybody, I'm Doug.
I'm Joy.
And this is the recap for week 3, December 2016, Wednesday Night Hop, the Balboa series. So we reviewed the house kicks from last week. Those were named after Hal Takier, who's an amazing bow swing dancer. You can look up videos and stuff online. And then we went into one last out and in thing, a little one-legged sweep, and then connect, back into basic, so this came out of regular out and ins, and then we did out, out, in, and that last out and in, leaders, you're trying to lead an out and in, but without doing an out and in with your own body. So I'm following Joy so that we stay enclosed.
I'm still going in, out, out, in.
Yeah, what that looks like by yourself, leads, out, out, in, out, out, in.
Yeah, we also practiced just doing one-legged out and ins of our own. Shoom, shoom, sha, where we still have the out and in feeling between us, but we're staying on one foot. And we pointed out that this was a footwork variation that is quite commonly done, where I choose to stay on one foot when we're doing out and ins, or the lead can as well.
Yep. Yeah, so that's definitely something to play around with, is just one-legged out and ins in general, and then this sort of catch and sweep maneuver is a fun thing to add into your Balboa. And then we talked about multi-turns. So we came in.
We started with connected turns, and we talked about keeping the follows hand. I can't talk while spinning apparently.
Sure.
We talked about keeping the follows hand right above the forehead and around here, where if it's behind my head, then it makes it very difficult for me to turn. But also that if it's off to the side, I can adjust my body to make it. Or if it's over here, I can adjust my body so that I'm spinning with it right in front of my forehead. We also talked about, for follows, when I spin on the wrap-up, I'm looking at my lead so that when I spin, I keep that positioning, which allows me to see my lead before he picks me up, which adds visual cues along with the right hand pickup.
Yeah, leaders, we talked about trying to keep our hand really consistent.
Whoops.
So whether you do a very slight halo or keep your hand in exactly the same place, either way, I don't want to be pushing or pulling on Joy's hand as she goes through this motion. And me in particular, I try to have all the energy for this turn in that stretch, and these fingers are just a guide. They aren't, I'm not pushing energy into my connection with Joy. The other thing to think about is getting your hand early on the back, so that you can get back into
so if I don't feel the lead's hand on my back, then I assume it's going to be a continued turn, and I'll keep spinning, which then ends in a wrap up, right? Which can lead to boob grabs, not fun.
Yeah, and that's actually a really great transition into the next thing we did, which was this whole sequence with free spins. So that looks like. We talked about making sure you keep a little distance between your partner and yourself, so that it's not obvious that you want to, or so that it is more obvious whether you want to pick them up or don't want to pick them up, because there is a small amount of like body language
cues
that goes into Joy knowing whether these continuous turns are keeping going or not.
Yeah, so if I come around and he's facing away from me, or if I see his back, or if his hands are down, I assume he's not picking me up, and I keep going. And in general, my assumption as a bow follow is that I will keep spinning until he picks me up, or until he gives me some cue that he wants to pick me up.
And then leaders, one of the really nice ways to make this easy is to just keep your back to the follow as you go through these free spins. Whoop. And then if you're looking for something new and fun to do, you can just keep going.
Keep going. We also talked about for follows where to keep your hand. So if you allow your hand to wrap up here, you will take away options for how your lead can pick you up. Also, if you let your hand drop below, it's very easy to get caught if he's trying to pick me up, right? So I try to keep my forearm parallel to the ground and slightly away from my body with space, but not elbows out.
So those are things we worked on this week. Thank you so much for taking the intermediate bow series this month. I hope you had fun with the stuff we gave to you, and come back in March for the next Wednesday night hop bow series then. So
Do it.
Happy New Year. Happy Balboas.